man, we here and I wanted to just get to know you at all for the culture. Like, we shine light on the whole person, not just the certain little things that people want to know about. So what I want to know is, how did you grow up and where did you grow up and where were you originally born?
Well, I was born and raised in Houston, Texas, in A-Leaf to be exact. How I grew up, it was totally different than most people. You know what I mean? I grew up in a family full of musicians. So I got to go to bed at 10:30 at night for school. But while I'm laying in bed, the room's dark, but you look under the door, it's cracked, lights on, everybody's partying, everybody's out there still awake. When I wake up, my pops just wakes me up, and he's like, "Wake me up when you ready to go." You know what I mean? Like the house is dark. I think I didn't. My first breakfast I ever had meal was like in 8th grade. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So like they was touring. They lived the nightlife. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much how I grew up.
Okay.
That way. You know what I mean?
So was it a lot of like having to kind of teach yourself things and raise yourself and do things for yourself?
My pops, like my mom was gone when I was like a couple months old. So my pops like pretty much raised me, but we grew in a household with like his brothers and their children. So they were on tour a lot. So like I had 2 older cousins that were girls that pretty much raised me. So I kind of had to learn a lot on myself, you know what I mean, with their help.
So we get deep on this podcast. So what your mom left? Just she left or she passed away or something?
No, she ain't passed away. Long story short, you know what I mean, the best way to put it is just, she was young when she had me.
Yeah.
And when people are young at that age, they got to get married or they try to commit into certain things, and she just had a lot of pressure on her, and she had things she needed to do for herself, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So, the smartest thing was to do was leave me with my pops, and it all worked out the way it worked out, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what I tell her. I'm like, she feels bad about it sometimes and breaks down, but I told her, I'm like, I wouldn't change nothing, you know what I mean? Everything that happened, it made me the man I am today. So, you know what I mean?
Very
with
true.
the scars and the bruises. So I ain't tripping, man. I love it.
We'll get to that in a minute. But you actually were saying that you grew up in a music environment. Your family was all musicians.
Mm-hmm.
I heard they were a famous Vietnamese rock band named
Yeah,
CBC.
Yes, definitely.
CBC
definitely.
band.
Yep. They were like the Beatles in Vietnam.
Wow.
It was crazy. My dad started playing drums at 5, professionally at 7. They, when it was like right before the Vietnam Wars when they started buzzing. And during the Vietnam War, they were known really well because they were playing for like the American GIs and stuff like that. And at the time back then, like Vietnam looked at it like devil music. They didn't know what rock and roll was,
Oh, wow.
So it was just crazy. Like they were from South Vietnam, and their story, is a remarkable story. Like how when the war was over, my family actually, the Northern Vietnamese communist people like put a hit out on them. They had to flee Vietnam like by boat. They lived homeless in India for like a year. They lived in Tibet with the monks for another year. By the time the war had ended, they were all like 17, 15, 19. And that's what happened. Like the northern people wanted to kill them because they considered them, because they were playing for the GIs and doing all that stuff. You know what I mean?
So a lot of people had to flee, huh?
Oh, it was bad. It was bad. ABC News did an actual like 1 hour thing on them back in the day in like 1975. They were known as the band on the run. You know what I mean? You can see it on YouTube. It's on YouTube and stuff like that.
That's
so yeah,
crazy.
it's a blessing to just be a part of that. Seeing that and being able to just build our own legacy from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's crazy because my dad literally told me the exact same story about someone going in and then ended up in India for a year, for a few months, then ended up in
they were
America.
in India, and then they were playing. They were like homeless, and then they started playing, I think, at some club or bar in India for like a year just to make money, as they were trying to get a sponsor over to America. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep. It's
That's
crazy,
crazy.
man. It was crazy.
Yeah.